thinking about you. Everyone that passes gets a little more possessive. I think I might be missing you. No, I don't mean to say no. I know that they're good too. Just a little too intensive, way over defensive. I think I'm wishing it were you. So maybe I can have you back. Some say that it don't work like that, but I think.
Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Reverend G. I am Reverend Grenetta Mason, aka Reverend G, and I'm here every Monday night from 8 to 9 p.m. with Conversations with Reverend G. We're having spiritual conversations, and it's really exciting with the different guests. They come from all perspectives, all walks of life, and so many, many exciting and creative fields. So we come each night so we can talk about each Monday to talk about, spirituality, our spiritual journeys. We look at what's going on in the world now. We talk about how we can support each other or create these tools. I talk a lot about the spiritual toolkit and what's in your toolkit. And the idea is to find things that can support you during these times, especially now. There's a lot of anxiety because tomorrow we have to vote, and we all need to exercise our right to vote. And you really get to choose who to vote for. And I know everybody is on edge. But what we have to do is, I think about staying calm and knowing that no matter what happens, everything is going to be all right. So one of the practices I always talk about is not totally reacting, but responding. So I'm glad you guys are here tonight. I have a very, very special guest. And if you want to see more of Reverend G, you can find me on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta Mason. I'm also on Instagram as Rev Grenetta and on YouTube as Reverend Grenetta Mason. And what I try to do is support you in finding joy in your life. The idea is to live your best life, but with grace and ease. So tonight, my special guest is my roommate from college. We met many, many years ago in Worcester, Massachusetts. I came from Memphis. She came from Georgia. She was a Georgia peach. I was a little Southern girl. We went to Worcester, Massachusetts as roommates. So over these many, many years, we've done a lot of different things. It's interesting when we spoke, she says, it's interesting we met as freshmen, and now I'm an African priestess and you're a reverend. Who would have thought? Because you know how freshman year can be. But I'm excited to have, I knew Joanne, but she's now Sangoma. She's a Sage Midwife, a sacred activist, and a cultural arts educator. And I'm excited about the conversation that we'll have tonight. We'll get to look at what her spiritual journey was like and talk about some of the spiritual tools that she has in her toolkit. So let's welcome Sangoma here. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, great, great. So I tell the story about the Southerners going up to Worcester, Massachusetts freshman year, many, many years ago. And so here we are today. So introduce yourself, and then we'll talk about, some of the things that's happened over the many years and share spiritual tools and things that we've learned that may support others.
Right. That's why we're here. I love the red, girl. It's fabulous. So let's see. How are we going to do this introduction? Well, the lady on the other end of the screen would have said, this is my friend Joanne.
Yeah. My friend Joanne, right?
That's where it began. And, you know, it's interesting now as we go into the rest of the introduction. I was saying it the other day, because I ran into one of my mother's friends at the supermarket in town. And, you know, we all got the masks up and everything, but she kept looking at me and I kept looking at her. And I mean, it was really the day after I come out of Toomsboro. We're going to get to it. And just my mother's presence was there. And of course, she knew me as Joanne, because that's all that Corona ever spoke of her daughter in church with this woman, right? And so that's what she was like, so what is your name? And with me trying to make her out, I say, I think you're knowing me as Joanne, you know, because you're so good to my mother. But yeah, so that's where it began back there, girl, when we thought we were going to do theater, remember? When we was getting ready to go on to graduate school and get our MFA in theater and all like that. And as the years have gone by, and it'll fill in as we do the show, we have found ourselves grounded on our destiny, on our mission. We really do know why God sent us here and sent us here as a freelance agent for that, for the divine. And we had a lot of jobs and missions in all those years that contributed to the resume of like, well, what do you do as a sacred activist? Or what do you do as a cultural arts educator? Or what is a spiritual midwife? Or, you know, any of the things that the roles in which we walk to serve, as we say, many communities. And I have a grand life. As you know, we could give the resume of TV, people that are interested through our affiliation with Oyotunji African Village, which is 50 years old this year. There's at least 30 videos on YouTube on the Oyotunji channel of us hosting a show of events and things there. So we really took where we left off from college when we went home and got the job there down at a radio station in Savannah. We just took off into, hey, I don't want to, who is this serving for me to get on 6 o'clock and say about blood and guts? Really? Who is that helping? Okay, I'm all for, you know, what happened at the school board meeting or what happened at the county commissioners meeting, but like who got killed in the quarter? No, I'm not really on that. It doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't even make their appetite go better during dinner. So we, you know, with the help of our ancestors and the divine destiny that what we told God we would do before we got here, then it began to turn where we used a lot of those same skills from theater arts and I guess publicly speaking and all of that.
One of the things that I know you mentioned it, because I remember when I visited you right after college, remember you were Christian and you were in the Christian church. And I remember the kids making us laugh so much because you had them in church all the time, right? And so they will make jokes about it. But I understand, you know, we all started that, but I'm pretty interested in hearing how you transitioned from that to the Yoruba, you know, just talk a little bit.
Went on up.
Yeah.
Girl, yes, I went on up. There's so many stories, but the good news is we are coming out with a book by the holiday time, because I would never get it in this hour. But this is a good story, this question you're asking right here. Because it comes up a lot because people, you know, see the garb and the regalia, which were pretty workable tonight, and wonder the same thing. And so I'm gonna start it with one experience, that is, and I don't think you got to meet my Aunt Nancy in Philadelphia, but the way that she passed, her funeral was on my birthday down in Fernandina. And so of course we went to the funeral, and at funerals, then Europe, you know, I'd already moved into the Yoruba priesthood. And so we wear white. And so, you know, and this is my favorite auntie, Black Satin Doll, they used to call her. And so we're sitting on the front row, just picturing ourselves spending our birthday at a funeral of my aunt. And, you know, after the thing, you know, they have the food and everything like that. And I knew I could feel the Spirit of God was really on me as to this minister. He couldn't quite land it. Is she Muslim? And but I could sing. He could see that I could sing all where he was, right? And so he moved on over there. You know, I'm sitting eating my chicken and potato salad. And so the first thing he said to me, boo, he said, "Don't you miss Jesus?" He didn't even say like, "Hello, how you doing? I'm Reverend so and so. I got chicken in my mouth." He, "Don't you miss Jesus?" I bet you know that was a fascinating conversation. But it answers your question. So I'm going to tell you the answer that I told him. Put down my chicken, wipe my mouth. I told him, I said, "No, I don't." No, I don't. To answer your question, the short answer is, of course not. He's our eldest brother. You want me to take you all the way down through our relationship to one who was Christ-like? We could do that. What happened here, what you see before you is someone who went all the way when the book said, "Study to show yourself approved." Yeah, well, I probably took it a few more lengths than most people. I took it to the Dead Sea Scroll. I took it to the Amplified Bible. I took it to, you know, laying on the hands and speaking in tongues and on out there with Kenneth Hagin and Fred Price, and had some of the best teachers. Me and the Holy Ghost and the spirits, I was 3 minutes. I said this story about yesterday or day before to somebody. I said, you know, the reason why I think I have such a range in spiritual things is because of the way that I was brought up. And, you know, even though those were all church going people, you know, come from many daughters of Isis, many Eastern Stars. I'm an Eastern Star myself. And so I moved into the mysteries of there. I wondered why the books that were written by the women, you know, didn't make it. And lo and behold, when you find out that the book Jesus wrote was buried in the Vatican and shit, you know, you know, okay. And so, you know, when how we made the transition, beloved, as I've said on the occasion of our godfather, the founder of Oyotunji, rising on February 11th at 6:11. But every year we have a toast and everything to him. And I said, you know, I just knew I was that little black girl in church looking at all the black people, looking around at all the white pictures on the wall. And I understood that someone told a lie. I got it, you know, and then that mixed with actually, you know, having an experience with John the Baptist through my baptism, being born in the call, you see things, and you know, as a Pisces as well, you see things in a lot of different realms. It's up to us to navigate. Where is our truth in that? Where is our center? Where does the divine, that breath that came in with us, that brought us here into the earth school, where is it guided to? And what is it guided by? So I went on because, you know, I'm that child of 20 questions and beyond just wondering why there were white people on the walls and the black people were all about it. I looked in the back of the Bible and I knew, because at this point I was in Beth Eden Baptist Church in Savannah. You know, you've been to our home down there. And I said to people, I said, no, this can't be right. Look where Jesus walked. Look where the equator is. No, this can't be right. People go down to Tybee and can't stay 3 hours and they don't look like them people on the wall. There is, you know, what are we missing here? And so that led you
to explore just many other things, because I know that you've done a lot of different spiritual quests, right? You have, like, you have when you go into the woods, right? Look at me, I'm talking about when you go into the woods, right?
But that's the way to say it. When I say it right now, I tell people, you better say what you got to say. I'm going to be in the woods about 5 days now. Yeah, boo, manna from heaven. Manna from heaven.
Right. It's so it's interesting too, because I think it brings to mind the earth, you know, being centered with the earth, and that's really a part of your spiritual growth and being spiritual, right? So that's how it relates to me. And I know you have many different things that you do. It's so funny, like 10,000 things are going through my mind, right? You know what I'm saying? where do we land right now? What I want to talk about, right?
Yeah. But all of that, I mean, you're right. And because it all ties together. We're in climate change. What is our relationship to the earth? Whether or not some of the things I do in the woods fall under pagan for that matter. So does Oyatunji African village. Pagan means country folk. It means like just you could take it to the Native Americans and their plights. You could take it to the Mexican people down at the border whose children are separated. You can take it anywhere, but we rely, just like we felt this fullness of the moon pass. We know the sun. We're disconnected from it now. Now we got machines and Walmart and all kind of shit in between it. So we're disconnected. But yeah, you know, that as we here in Little Appling, Georgia, and up at the church there, I that was my parting of the ways there. And we did great stuff. We had, African scene kind of nativity with Jesus and Mary. And we did, your girl can do it, boo. You've been in theater with me. And so, but finally, when we got the marks, we got the Eli's of when we were entering into our priesthood, we explained to that pastor whom we love, we were the first couple that he married, and said, no, if you were given a choice to accept what someone else has indoctrinated in an entire group of people for a reason of slavery and oppression, and the other choice was to do the holy incantations of your own people whose blood is running in your veins from cellular memory, 14,000 years predating Christianity. I don't know. Which one would you choose? I choose that one because I'm really into that one, because that's already in me. My African soul is in me. And so whether it's God, Goddess, Olodumare, Allah, whatever it is. Yeah, right. The book itself. And that's why I said, study to show yourself approved, because the tower fell. We fell into divers towns. This is the part we're figuring out now in the bridge building and the peacemaking that we have to do right now is where is the common language, and the common language is in our heart.
Yeah. It's a simple language too.
We said that this morning. It's a simple language.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? And as we think about it, and we think about like bringing it to where we are today, and all of the things, like right now, there's a lot of anxiety, and I'm thinking about how to support people. What is it that we can say? Because tomorrow's a big day and people are like all over the place, right? And it feels like, what calming thing can you say, or how can we support people? I always talk about the spiritual toolkit. What do you have spiritual that could support you to tomorrow and right now? Because we're feeling the anxiety
right now. Yeah, it's minute by minute. We're in the front calls, and I could go the gamut of the day, but to hit right where you hit at about 4:30, 5 o'clock, we gather every Monday afternoon with the teenagers from the Art of Mentoring program out of Vermont that we do. And her question, one of the young teens' question to the 5 elders from Australia to St. Croix to here, we're all over, Miriam's in Vermont, was, what do you do to create your sense of safety moving forward through the day, like that. And I said a few things. I said, for number one, I love a story that a lot of years ago, a woman said, it was a Some Woman's Day program, and she was speaking, and she opened with this about she just wanted to tell this story of her and her dad driving down. She had to speak in a church somewhere, and it was one of those pouring down rains, one of the rains like you can't see the car in front of you. And her father looked at her and said, don't you dare stop this car, because they was passing all the cars that was pulling off on the side of the road stopping. She said, my daddy looked over at me and said, don't you dare stop this. She said, I really didn't know how I was going to do it. I'm all hunched over the steering wheel trying to figure out how to do it. She said, in 10 minutes, we were in the sunshine. And my father said, Now I want you to take a minute to think about all them people sitting back there in the storm. And where are you, my dear? You are in the sunshine. So we know that above all, that all the tools that we have internally to secure us externally are about keeping it moving. I recently bought this little sloth shoulder bag, too cute, at Costco's. And I didn't know what it was, girl. I thought it was a koala bear. And I did. It was so cute. And I was like, oh, and you know, I'm partial to monkeys. I'm born in the Chinese year of the monkey. And so anyway, I looked it up because you could tell with this long claws. And I was like, no, this isn't a koala bear. And I looked it up. Sloths move in slow motion. You know, I only know sloth as one of the 7 deadly sins. I was totally lost. They are actually creatures that move in slow motion. That was the medicine tool coming to me in the moment. A woman back from paralysis and a wheelchair. It's like, slow down. No matter how chaotic it is moving around you, you will do better to slow yourself down. You know, it's like when people be buzzing too much too early in the morning from coffee, and I always tell them how much ever coffee you drink and cut it down by half because you're buzzing all over the damn place. And so that's what we have to think about in this energy, because this energy is like that. The other piece of this conversation is one of the elders, and she has a biracial son. I believe the partner was a Black man. And she said he texted in while we were on that call. I don't know where he was. I think in Boston or somewhere, and said, Ma, should I go buy a gun? This is tonight. This is now, Gran. Okay. Should I go buy a gun? And so his mom is like, well, no, you should, why would, you know? And he said, no, people are already here out in trucks riding all around with guns. So yeah, boo, the guardrails are way off. And I suggest I congratulate all of those who couldn't, nope, can't do it. Let me get you up. Thank you. And so, you know, I made a date with my husband. He just come back from building in West Virginia and Florida. And I've been where all these parts. And we're in the morning going to go to vote because I couldn't pull off the early voting. But I promise you, my first tool in the toolkit is lay low. Lay low. Lay low. Lay low. And don't lay low in fear or what if, because if you're in what if, you're not in the present moment. And our breath, that was the other thing I gave the young lady on the call was, you know, notice that yoga teachers and all the people that take you into any visualization begin on the breath.
Right. It's the breath.
Because the breath then flows clean fluids in, refreshes and restores, and know your center. And your center can be anywhere. That's what people have to recognize. But it needs to be somewhere. And it's not somewhere we've been because that's breaking apart. The tower, that's falling, you know? So is it like, I have my morning rituals. So it could be watering my garden. It could be making sure the birds have bird seed. You know, like the lilies, we toil not. We move with God. And I said to a lot of people, Toomsboro, a lot of things that we move through, and we say to them, why do you, because one lady, I knew who it was a client I had, and she was telling me about how she dressed in her whites to go to these ceremonies and things like that. And so, because I was speaking to her about, oh, you haven't been formally initiated, you're going to have to self-initiate. You're going to have to be the seal to your own prayer, your living prayer, your living prayer. How are you walking that prayer, right? So she went on to tell me about how she dressed in whites to go to these ceremonies and things. And I said, what happens after the ceremony, honey? I said, let me explain to you like you could understand it, almost like you was in the room and had the light on and then you left out the room and turned the light off. And so why do you go in and out of the rooms of spirit? Why is not the light of spirit on constantly? And that's the groundwork, Gran.
Right,
Yeah, that's the groundwork. When
That's
you
what
figure out what tools do I have, what tools am I in possession of, and that's the thing before we could even get to how we're going to help and be that lighthouse for others, because you can't give out what you're not in possession of.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's with nickels and shit. That you ain't got that. So you have to do an assessment of what tools do I have. I have patience. I do have long suffering. I kind of know how to do random acts of kindness, or not. Or not.
Exactly.
Or I've been too angry lately, or I'm too irritable, or I'm too on edge. And, people self-medicate, and there's all types of things you can do to numb away.
Yeah, exactly.
But really, at a time like this, my question is, do you want to look away?
Right. Wow.
Yeah. I say it everywhere I go, honey. The BIPOC meeting, everywhere I go. That's what I'm saying. Everywhere I go. Yeah. Because look how long they looked away. And my point of watching a man's breath be taken out of his body for 8 minutes and 46 seconds is like, that's done.
Yeah.
Okay. That closed the curtain on that looking away shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was in front of your face like Netflix. Come on. Stop playing. Stop playing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we talk about, how to move forward and how to keep it open. So you can't look away anymore. You can't look away. It's right here in your face, right?
Right.
So then, how do we move forward, right? And stay strong in getting what we need to get done, right?
It takes the work, Gran, because as we are getting the hits, as this external is firing on us, we have to see where the trigger is. And then we have to undo the trigger in here. Because that is the how-to. How do I walk in more inner peace? Oh, you have to dismantle the triggers of Joe Blow on the street that can get you to go left to the, nigga level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, all the way to that level, right. You're absolutely right, because it really is about how are you going to respond?
That's right.
How do you respond to any situation, right? And that's like really being grounded in, and we don't always respond like we think we do, but the key is to bring it back when we find.
We solved this. We had a midnight council of empresses. It was great. Whole nother story. Tombsboro, Saturday night on the full moon.
I have Tombsboro here. I want to know about that.
Yeah. And what we brought up, because this came up, because I think as we went around and we were bringing the things in that we come with, fear came in 3 different areas. You know what I'm saying? So we got to this point right here. And it is, I encourage people now to have their own internal pause. Just like you got pause on your little Netflix and pause on the phone and pause and everything like that. Everything, my grandma would say, everything said to you is really not deserving of an answer. Number one, what told you you were obligated to open your mouth and respond back? Period. And so then we had to go further, dig deeper into that pause button and go, now some people's pause button lives in fear. And that's kind of what you're edging on, that place of just feeling stuck and not knowing what to do and uneasy, and you're out of your comfort zone. And then other people's like pause button lives over here on, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Thanks so much for bringing that to my attention. I'm going to walk with that for a minute and keep it moving. Because that was my pause button. It rises. I'll be checking how my crown is on. Let me move this way. You see? And so that lives in people's trauma and woundedness and all the stuff they're carrying, why these big shocks are coming into us now. Because in order to get to the new earth, the next level of enlightenment, we do have to shed that stuff. We don't get to take it with us. The pause button allows you to remember your empowerment. You have the power to be silent. You have the power to be, you can be shocked and you can be startled by whatever has come your way, but it is a choice to be silent.
Absolutely.
Now, the key on that end is how to know what to do with that, because a lot of people suffer from cancer and all kinds of things that turn in on the body. Again, waving the hand, autoimmune illnesses.
Right.
When you shove down, in other words, you didn't just hit pause, like you took it all in and swallowed it down and then kept moving with it, which is what a lot of people do.
Exactly.
It is
and
not
I totally hear that, because now you feel like you see the pain from people over all these years. Even I was very angry, and I realized I had just shoved it all down, right? And then it just bubbled up, and I was like, damn, I'm still angry. I'm angry, and I never acknowledged it. So that was the moment to acknowledge really what I was feeling, right? And then you get to move on. And you're right, shoving it down only impacts the body. So there's a moment to really just acknowledge. And
You know, we had good people like Mandela, Gran.
Yeah.
Mandela, boo,
Yeah.
26 years and 6 months. You talk
Yeah.
about anger put down,
Yeah,
how you treated living in a cage.
Yeah.
And he came out and said, be careful you don't drink the poison thinking you killing your enemies. So we don't take that down into ourselves.
Exactly.
It's snake medicine, you know, snakes shed their skin. We shed the skins that no longer serve the highest of our good, so that we can move into a comfort in the new skin. And that's where we are, really. Right. I was saying that as they were speaking, all this anxiety and anxiousness of all these parts. You know, what's going to happen is going to happen. And, you know, again, I don't put the icing on nothing. I said to the little girl, I said, honey, I said, let's walk into that fear. Okay, what you got? Right. There's going to be guns and shooting? Yes. People are going to die? Yes. We're already 250,000 people dead in. Our grief is up here. Right. Okay. So facts on the table. Okay. Now, what do you feel about that? Do you feel your own threat? You know, I like SWATs. I bring that up in a lot of the programs I do. Let me just deal with young man. I'm on a radio show, honey. I can't talk to you now. I'm going to call you back. Because apparently hanging up on him didn't work. Okay. You know, but that's the truth of it. And, you know, the whole movie, you know, I'm a theater arts major. The movie Dune, it tells us fear is the mind killer. Yes. You know, and we went over that at the Empress Council. False evidence of things appearing real. For a while, they tell me that the dumpster toddler has prepared his victory speech already. For a while, it is going to appear maybe to you real. I will know walking through to the weekend that all of this wah, it's not real. Right. It's not real, like they say in Divergent. All of those movies, they tell you a point between consciousnesses where that's how we get to our truth. What's real, what's not. Right. It's kind of like to move into Tombsboro. I was thinking about, because I do want to write something. I'm thinking about, they have a lot of people coming from France and all over the world now, you know, writing articles on them and stuff. Right. So I was like, I'm going to write an article, you know. And so I was really laying with this because I just got in from it yesterday evening. And what came to me is, what is freedom? And how, because they are the Freedom, Georgia. That's the name of the town. Hello, they're building. I'm going to go through it in a minute. Okay. They are building a town, just like Appling is a town. Atlanta is a town. And so what is freedom? And how do you know when you have it? And how do you know when you don't? Because each of them powerful people, Grant, in a certain level, you know, in that area, like you excel in the MBA and the math. I so appreciate everyone's lane. These young people, these children, these 19 families, a great deal. Some of them I get because I don't see them. There's like 8 major families that come every time to each event, but the rest are investors, or they're looking to build, you know, now they're 500 acres in. A minute ago, they were just 97 acres. Now, as of yesterday, they just closed on 440 more acres, all adjacent and around Toomsboro, which if people don't know the history of Toomsboro, you should ask yourself, why is it a ghost town? And everyone ran away, and 19 Black families could wind up buying it in June of 2020. Ask yourself that, do the research. So all this property that they bought is in the vicinity, but not in the town or city limits of Toomsboro. Therefore, it is only property in Wilkerson County, Georgia. And then thereby it can be founded as a town only answerable to the state of Georgia. Very, very powerful. Just Ashley Scott, who we have a video going up on our YouTube. We did a wonderful story with her for people that want to know more. How did that happen? You know, from the point of you heard about the land, you got in the cars, drove down, and how did all that happen? In June you signed and so forth. But yeah, so it's remarkable to me, and I've been reflecting much on it, how at 12 years old I encountered the founder of an African town in America, period, point blank. Not like there's one in every state. There isn't. There's only one in South Carolina. Someone who was tormented by African drums and things that were not in the Negro reality, not even in the reality you and I went to college through. But every night, the Abba would have those dreams. It wasn't until he started dancing with Catherine Dunham and they went to Haiti that he saw in vivid real life everything that had been in his head. The son of Garveyites, it's true. So, you know, and this newness of the relationships that we're building with these different families, the women is 4 powerhouse women, Ashley, Renee, Dr. Ball, she's a psychologist, Laura, Q, and Q is our cultural, she's like the Minister of Cultural Arts Education. I'm her right hand right there. And they put it together fabulously, girl. Look at the pictures.
I'm so excited about that.
Go to my Facebook. They put it together fabulously. And so we're looking forward to a lot of teaching goes on when we go there. You know, when we went to the big Black camp out probably a month and a half ago, you know, it's a lesson for me, having been in the woods all these years with mostly white people, to go and meet Black people where they are, those that have trauma from being in the woods, those that I've invited to the predominantly white things that, you know, I sleep like a log. I light my candles and light my altar in the tent. Boy, I'm down. The Black people come and try and sleep through the night in the woods with 200 white folk. It don't work out.
You said it does not work out. Don't work out.
Right. So these folk come down, girl. It was about 200-300 vehicles on this property, and everybody got their hibachi and their steak, and they don't quite know how to pitch a tent. They've never done it before, but they are where they are.
Yeah.
And that was huge because, like I say, you got ancestral scars of being beat, died in cotton fields. Reasons why there was a Daughters of the Dust. Reasons why Blacks verged north and said, let me put on a suit and, you know, some stockings and shit and get a job. Whatever. Right. There were real reasons that they left the camp out scene and growing their own food, and a lot of the things that this group is talking about putting in the works now. The Black Achievement Fund, because a lot of people ask, and that's a key question, is to like, so how do you get involved? And so I did ask that. And the Freedom Georgia Initiative, you can't join. They're having a big gala on New Year's Eve in Atlanta. Awesome. I mean, I say big in a pandemic. It's only actually select people, probably 50 to 60 people. But if you want to know information about buying or investing in part of this property, you should get in touch with the Black Achievement Fund, which is like this giant nationwide Black people's credit union, financial, real estate, the whole thing. Yeah, they're holding that wheel for people that feel like they want to become residents. Some people will just come, you know, like we go to Selma, or like, you know, we go to any of the towns where just Black people live. I do respect the fact that they are sovereign, like Oyatunji. You know, we have people from all over the world, white, Japanese, German, you know, you can come and take a tour. Can you stay? No. Can you become a resident? No.
Okay.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting because one of my friends, actually the south of my wheel, she handles my website and all those parts. You know, she got a little offended when Ashley got to that point of the interview.
Right.
And I said, really, Tracy? Because she be doing her work. Me and her been
Mhm.
friends 20 years. And, you know, I put it to her. Go watch Tulsa. Go watch this. Go watch this. I put the homework to her, baby. Catch up. You're going to stay in friendship,
Right. Catch up.
kinship
Right.
with
Right.
me. Right.
Mhm.
And so I said, well, let's just think about it, honey. Here we were taken from our own damn house, okay, where we lived,
Right.
and brought over here against our will. We didn't buy a ticket to come to this thing.
Right.
And so for all the years that we have been in the big house of America, we've never had our own room.
That's right.
And so even teenagers in their parents' house usually have a sign. Parents have the dignity to knock. They just don't go walking into the room. Ask a Black person where it is they live that no white person can't walk into. So there's a reason for the sovereignty. There is.
Wow.
You know, and these are the things, you won't go back. And a lot of people, I said that early on in the pandemic. I said, when George Floyd, I said, oh no. Black people have figured out what they're willing to die for. Now you see them in the streets. Black Lives Matter. Oh no, you will not be shoving that back under the rug. Again, this is not the time to look away. So it brings us to what are the tools? And if we have to go forward, who are we going to build the bridges with? For what? For what level of peace? For ourselves, the others, for our children. Me, I work for my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren.
You have a tribe, right?
I have a tribe.
How many you got in that tribe?
I have a tribe. I have 12 grands.
Wow.
6 grand boys and or sons, and 6 grand princesses. And now I have 3 great grandsons.
Wow.
So we're up there in a tribe, and it's good, you know. It's that point we were talking about our age today, but I'm gonna be here a long time, and you too. But you know, where if we did have to check out real fast for the party with Michael and Prince and them, you know, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I said yes, I am. I'm good. I'm good. I've seen what they're capable of, and of course we pray until we leave for their potential. But I'm not at a place, even in all of this, because the last time that I was with them, and I'm going to pick up one grandson, he's having some issues, maybe diabetes, some things not going well with him. So we pull him, just like we had the granddaughter that had COVID. And I say to my daughter, calm down. How you gonna let some white people that don't even know you like what, for real? You bring her here to your mama, and your mama will do it. 10 days later, did the teas, boom, 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 go home, you're all good. Boom, boom, boom. Because healers, again, is we were talking about that this morning, is that baby is education. This is why Janet, back when we was dancing, girl, said, you know, we're at the point between education and catastrophe. If you do not self-educate yourself on your own self-sufficiency or what you are capable of, then things like Obamacare and Medicare and all the other parts wreck your world, don't it? As they play the tennis game with whether they're going to give it to you or not, or the stimulus check or not. Okay.
And you revolve all around, all up in that mess. Right.
Done handed off your power. Handed it off.
Handed it straight off.
Handed it off.
Right.
But I refuse to do that. And that's why when they bring all these different parts with this and that, and is he suicide on this? I said, well, I tell you what, we have plenty of professionals in mental illness. And while you do hear a lot of politics about all the other healings, we haven't heard the politics about the healing of mental illness in our community. And those that weren't on the brink of it a minute ago,
they are really.
Since the pandemic and the cultural race wars, there's a lot more people on the brink of mental illness, and this is real. We should be dealing with it.
Yes, we have to really address it, and we can't like turn our back on that anymore either, because we just really have to understand that it's happening and support. How do we have people, because we're all on that edge, right? I say we all walk that line and we can tilt either way.
That's
So
right.
I know that my morning spiritual practices help me, whatever I need to do. I have tools, right?
Exactly.
I have people I can call, right? I have
Exactly.
tools I can use.
Exactly.
I have a whole community of people, right? That speak the same language that I speak, that I can go to and be authentic and share and feel safe. You said something earlier about feeling safe. I think that's one of the most important things for all of us, is to feel safe.
Right.
Right. And where does that come? And it comes from like an inner peace. If you can find that inner peace within, then you're safe. You feel safe.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it takes something. It
right.
really,
And, that's the place that we should live and have our movement from. If we, and that's what they say. They say, well, if you're not moving from love, you must be moving from fear. Yeah. Okay. It's just as simple. And that's what I would say, we are lucky, tons of support systems round and round and round. Because we remember our elders, because we have ancestors, we have the Holy Ghost, God, and the list goes on. But what do we say to those? And I really look at those now that are more isolated than they were in and of their own selves because of this pandemic and stuff, or what's the threshold you have to cross? And I do, I call out the elephant in the room. I call it. If I see that you hanging back, then I'm gonna say, well, what's up, what's in, and I'm gonna dig right in there until you come to the fact that you have to approach why you're not able to move forward to save yourself. Okay, we mighty fast at thinking we need to save somebody else.
You are so right. Yeah, absolutely.
But when it comes to saving yourself, whether that's self-care or tea, it's just like it's one of those people in the past. But they finally got it. They were like, I don't even know why we're talking about all this external and the vaccine and this and that and the other. If people would just bolster up their own immune system, if they knew enough of what to do to have a shield in here, we wouldn't even be in all this.
Right.
And that's a fact. I have friends that up there in upstate New York that they got New York through what they did by lots of people ordering the thieves oil and the different turmeric and the antivirals that you put in the body. Well, a COVID can't live in a body that's filled with ginger and all these antivirals. It can't happen. It's like oil and water. It can't happen. Well, there's a thought. If you don't have medical insurance, right? Or you have to, sit in a car for 2 hours in order to get a test, or whatever the deal is. Again, and when we began the Wise Women tradition many, many, many years ago with one of our teachers, Wapio, I think out of many of the teachings that she gave, and that is almost innumerable, the idea, she took us one Saturday morning through a women's weekend through just how much power we had given away to other places in our life. And then we was walking around screaming we didn't have any power. Like we gave our children to other strange people to teach. We give our dead to the morticians. We give our sick to the hospitals. And we just issue everything out. Whereas we didn't used to do that. We took some responsibility. That's the ability to respond. We took some responsibility for our territory, like in Jabez, enlarge our territory. Well, if you don't have any relationship or know what these things mean, it's just words. So there's the tools right there. Maybe you have to get a working definition of some of the words, the lip service. I said it to the white people. Maybe we have to now get something that gives some drive and momentum up under the lip service, because the lip service obviously is not saving anyone. Not at all. Not at all. We've talked the problems stupid. We're on the solutions now.
Absolutely.
We're on the solutions now. And if it's not about the solution, and almost hugs are gone. Used to be when people just couldn't pull it out or articulate, I'd be like, you need a hug. You can't even, you can't even do hugs now. You know what I'm saying? Wakanda, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Very interesting. I know that, we're moving. I wanted to, you did this weekend, where were you at a Black Girl Magic?
Black Girl Magic
Yeah.
down in Freedom, Georgia, which is really only about 90 minutes from my house here in
Okay,
Athens.
that was all a part of being in the Freedom, Georgia. Oh, okay. I knew you had done that, and I was wondering because I thought that was like really cool. So, talk a little bit about the Sage Midwife.
Okay. So a sage traditionally, like you have a seer.
Right.
And really, these are old, ancient terms for now. Probably, if somebody were trying to equate a seer, they say psychic. If somebody, if somebody were going to qualify a sage, they might say herbalist. They might say healer. You know, but a sage, I say it this way, you know, whether it's a sage midwife or a spiritual midwife, and I say it to my friends and clients and people that I work with. I say there's a reason why midwife is on the business card, is in that term. And you know, while I have been at all the births of all of my grads and my own had to do that live, this is not the nature of it. The nature of it is where we have come to an intersection of destiny. You're pregnant with something you're birthing, and along comes the midwife, and I'm going to walk with you for a while. And like a midwife does, I'm going to give you certain aids and support, or I might just be in your presence. We might do a puzzle together. We might just keep it simple.
Wow. Okay.
And allow the energy to be. That's a midwife. You see, and I say to them, there are two things that you got to know in this relationship. Number one, I can work harder than you to birth what you birthing. And at no time will I be having the baby. I'm the midwife. Never get that confused. What?
Right.
And you know, so it works out well, because what it does is, for whatever our generation, sure, baby boomers, you know, we came through being spoiled because our parents had it so hard. So they would go that extra mile for us. You know, they would, no question asked. And then what did it do? It left us in this place here where we was waiting on, you know, someone else to do something. I don't know. But the old, the Hopi, the ancient ones, any of those ancient prophecies you look at say, we are no longer looking outside of ourselves for the leaders.
That's it.
We are the ones we've been waiting for. You know, I had to call it to, you know, for one of those friends, you know, and because they were like, oh, but look where we were, and we come through the civil rights movement. I said, that's all fabulous, ain't it? But last I checked, it was you and me in the morning circles in these gatherings in the woods telling some 200 people that we were the ones that we've been waiting for. So that means we either sharing skills and tools here, or we should just keep our mouths shut.
Yeah.
That's what the old people told me. Unless you practicing what you preaching.
Right. Don't preach.
Yeah, don't preach. You know, so there's just some basic laws, whether you're way, way higher, the universal laws, and I'm tapped into those light workers too, working the grid energies, trying to keep the volcanoes and earthquakes at bay, you know, doing our best with these hurricanes moving through. And then we're the grassroots people who we would have said are returning to the church, but it's not really the church as we thought of it, but it really is now the body of Christ within. It is the church within. Each person finding their sacred. And, you know, it is, well, what does a sacred activist do? Well, it's the act of making all things sacred. You could turn on.
And each person, it's an individual thing. Each person gets to choose what works for them. And I like that because it's inside in each one of us, something different can work for each one of us. And I like, that's what a part of the show is about, sharing all the different practices, because something might resonate with another person and you're always updating, because I have so many different tools and different words work at different times. So it's about really building up that spiritual toolkit, I called it. How you're going to live your life, right? And what will you use to support you during every aspect of your life? And also about, you know, we've talked a lot about, one of the things I really, that's important to me is joy. Where's that happiness? Where, you know, we live, and that can come by being present, because I think we fall out of joy when we're thinking about the future or we're thinking about the past. But if we can get present and find that moment, because everything we do is to find happiness. Our main goal is to find some joy or some happiness.
Yeah.
So part of it is just find a little bit of joy no matter what we're going through. And I guarantee you, you find that little bit, there's more and more of that. Yeah. We have a lot of work to do, and we could do it joyfully, man. Yeah. We could have joy. I love Grace and Denise. I love joy, but we have work to do, and we can get it done.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm Charged and Recharged, Beloved by Stevie Wonder. I could go down a whole playlist.
Right.
A whole playlist.
Stevie Wonder just threw a new song, I heard.
I think so. I think I haven't heard it yet, but that went by. India.Arie, Earth, Wind and Fire. When I need to come back into that joy or that peace that passes all understanding. Ain't no telling where I might go. Wow. It might fill a place that felt empty without joy a minute ago, or it might go to the crazy concerts that we have been to, girl, and I'll be sitting down laughing. I won't even be able to dance no more. I'll be laughing so hard.
Exactly.
That night in Boston with Trudy, the crowded Earth, Wind and Fire, one girl, all that stuff on the blowing and explosions on the machine. Wow. Girl, now 50, we wouldn't be caught dead in no auditorium with 80,000 people.
I know.
Girl.
Wow. Good. Well, it was so great catching up
with
you and having you share. And we'll definitely be in touch. And thanks. I'll check again with you next year. You can come back. I mean, next year's around the corner.
It is.
Come back and share more, because I want to keep up with Toomsbury so I can see what's going on there, because I'm really fascinated by us just doing that, just that we're doing it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm
what
sure
I think
many
is
more projects will come up like that.
Yeah, because you're in this format, there's a way, because I've got a number of Zoom things or live reports. Again, Kindred of Sangoma has its own YouTube channel. And so at different points, even if I didn't come back, by me continuing to send you various videos like the gala in Atlanta, the stuff they're doing, you could put it in and feed it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk about how people can get in touch with you. I know you have a million groups and
absolutely. Right. Yeah, I can go through it fast because man, oh man, right? So there's Kindred of Sangoma, which has its own Facebook page. KindredofSangoma.org is the website. Then you have 3 basic groups that when people say, well, I want to follow your teachings, I want to learn this or that or the other. The Classroom Collective, the Mystic School of Alchemy, or coming up at the end of the year for the last 5 years, we've done the last 6 Tuesday nights together as the Season of the Raven. It's a temple time for 1 hour, kind of like this, where people come in, but even though we're in different geographies, we pass a talking stick. We have our listening bowls in the middle. So it's a time to just really come in and balance, because that's what we're into, boo. I ain't changed. We're into the mysticism and the alchemy. You know what I'm saying? All those exist. And, Sangoma, she's got too many friends on Facebook. You could go over there, but the Classroom Collective would be better, or the Mystic School of Alchemy.
All right. Well, great.
It was great having this conversation.
Yeah. And I'll talk to you.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys for joining me tonight on Conversations with Reverend G. And, at each week, I talk about a mindful moment. And I think it's appropriate to talk about, in your mindful moment, just taking that pause and breathing. So we all need to take a pause sometime. And so let's work on taking a pause, taking a breath, rejuvenating, recalibrating, and moving forward with grace and ease. So it's Reverend G, and you can find me on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta Mason, on Instagram as Rev Grenetta, and on YouTube as Reverend Grenetta Mason. I'm here every Monday night on WEMS Radio, from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., bringing you spiritual conversation. So this week, have a great week, and I'll see you next week.